Well, I appreciate everybody being here today. Obviously, not the performance that we wanted to put on the field against the University of Cincinnati. Credit them for the way they played and Coach Satterfield having them prepared and ready to go. We've got a lot of things that we'll work on this week to fix, to improve. You make your biggest week improvement from week 1 to week 2, and so we are definitely looking forward to making some of those improvements. Had a good long meeting with the players yesterday, and obviously the staff on Sunday, to correct some of the issues that we had on Saturday, which were really self-inflicted issues. Nothing against Cincinnati as far as the quality of opponent. I mean, a great opponent that obviously was in the college football playoffs 2 years ago. But that being said, we should have performed a lot better than what we did. And that is our challenge this week against probably a better football team in the University of Kentucky. And so really impressed with what Kentucky did the first week against Ball State. Their defense looks like a Mark Stoops defense, and they were flying around getting after it. I've heard all the stuff coaches put out about he's not happy, third down, this, that, and the other, and I get all that. But they look like the monsters of the Midway over there. And so I think they're going to have a really good defense this year, and it's going to be a great challenge for Parker and our offensive football team. Their offense, obviously with Lim back, is gone back to more what they did 2 years ago. And I think you can see the evident and the speed in the wideout department with Darrian Brown and Dane Key, both tremendous players. And Robinson is another one that probably doesn't get his due. The tight ends are physical and playing well. I thought the O-line played probably as good as it's played for them in a while, and was doing a really nice job. And the quarterback is an efficient, really good quarterback. I know Parker got to know him a little bit down at the Manning Academy and got to watch him perform and thinks highly of him. So, we've got a big challenge. I think Mark's got one of his really good football teams, and I got a chance to do things that, he wants to do at the University of Kentucky and worked hard to do. So the coaching staff has done a great job over there, and just really a great organization that I have tons and tons of respect for and have for years. And being coaching in this state at multiple universities for over 20 years now, it's another great opportunity for our football team. Though we're not going to shy away from that opportunity. We're looking forward to that opportunity. I know our fans are looking forward to it. City of Richmond, and we're excited about traveling up on Saturday to play at Kroger Field. With that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Hey there, Walt. Appreciate the time as always. I know you mentioned now what you guys did at Cincinnati on Saturday wasn't reflective of the team and how well you guys think you can play. But after looking at film once or twice in the last few days, were there any specific areas, position groups where you guys did feel like you put some good stuff on film and performed to the best of your abilities in any areas?
Well, I mean, I think when you look at our football team, we have 6 seniors, 3 of them are transfers. Okay, so I think the first thing you look is we're an inexperienced football team, and that showed on Saturday. But the one thing that I thought and I felt really good about was the physicality that we played with at times. We went out and I thought our strain and our physicality up front on both sides of the ball and our front 7 and just overall as a team was where it needed to be. Where we lacked on Saturday was the trust and the consistency to do the things that you have to do to win in games like that when you're an FCS opponent going against an FBS opponent. And, we put our pants on just like they do. All that good stuff is true, but you can't go out and make silly, stupid mistakes over and over and over again and expect to win. That's what our motto is, expect to win. And I don't know if we felt like, because it's the first game, a lot of guys playing for the first time, that they felt like they needed to go out and do something extra. No, they just got to play hard. And if you play to a standard and play extremely hard every time you go out and play, I think you'll have success, and you'll find out that is more successful than trying to do some things on your
own. Yeah. Well, thanks again for today. Two things for you, if you don't mind. One,
yes, sir.
You know Mark really well, but you also know Brad White really well. So when you talk about that defense impressing you, what jumps out the most And the second thing, I know Maxwell has been through kind of a tough time recently and all. What kind of help have you kind of been to him there, maybe because of an experience you had yourself?
Well, first of all, I think the most important question is Maxwell and his brother and the success they're having right now, which is an extreme positive. I'm here for Maxwell if he ever needs anything, and his family's in California, it's a long ways away, and I've told him, when all that came through, if you ever need to go out there, I mean, for whatever reason, football will be fine. I mean, whether it's Parker, because we got a 6-year quarterback, so I mean we could be okay, but also even if it's the young guys, life is bigger than football. I mean, I wish I could pick up the phone and call my brother every Friday night, or every Saturday morning and Thursday night, like we did. I can't do it, and won't ever be able to do it. And so we just talked once, and just he knows I'm here if he needs him. And if he ever needs to go do something, he needs to go take care of it, because I think family's most important. As far as the defense goes, I mean, I think the one thing you see is their overall speed and their ability to get to the football. I mean, when I judge a defense, I judge how hard they play and how hard they hit. Obviously sound and all that. I mean, Brad's going to be sound. He's going to have people where they're supposed to be. He's going to coach them the way that, Brad's an intelligent, really good football coach. And, but they run to the ball and they hit. I mean, I think if you'll take number 3, the name slipped me right now. He wasn't there when I was there, so it's hard to remember. But he hit that dude on the sideline on that fumble, and the way he hit him with his shoulder and didn't use his head, and all the things that go into that hit. But there was another one that was just as impressive when him coming off the edge. I mean, they're a physical football team, and that's a Mark Stoops football team. That's a Brad White defense. That's how they're breeding it over there, and has been for years. I mean, I can go back to when I was coaching against them when I was at the University of Tennessee, and you could see it coming. And so I think that's what's most impressive about their defense.
For the upcoming season, what do you expect to be the biggest hurdles, and how are you going to be defensive against possible obstacles for players?
Well, I think when you're talking about the season, I think you get into, we've got a lot of different things. I mean, the number one thing is gaining experience, quickly so that we can win football games. And the only way to do that is go out and let people play. And I think if you look at our Cincinnati game, we played a lot of people, both defensively and offensively. And so I think number one is gaining the experience that we need to have to be able to be successful in the games that we've got left, which are 10, obviously. Can you repeat the last part of that question? I'm sorry.
Just, how are you going to be defensive against any obstacles that players may face throughout the season?
Well, I think when you're talking about being defensive, I think we try to be proactive for our players. I'm assuming it's an off the field potentially question, maybe, or an injury type question. We try to do everything we can, give them every advantage we can give them to make sure that they understand what they need to do to be able to be out on the field and be successful. We have different types of treatment plans, mental health plans, anything that can come up. We try to make sure that we are proactive instead of reactive.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh,
I'm
nothing
in a little better mood today than I was Saturday.
Yeah, much better mood. Love to see it. No, Coach, you talked about the lack in trust with your guys, just I guess from last Saturday. How do you, I guess, build that trust in such a short amount of time when you have a team like Kentucky up next on the schedule?
Well, I think it started yesterday in our meetings. Well, first of all, it started Sunday in our coaches' meetings. It's not all players that make mistakes, and it's not all coaches that makes mistakes. It's us as a team that made the mistakes. And I think that's the number one thing we got to understand is the team made all the mistakes. It wasn't just the players. It wasn't just the coaches. It's a combination of both those. And I do feel like that some of our players went out there and tried to do, even though it was one of our points of victory, you don't have to do anything heroic. You just got to go do what you've been taught to do. They felt like they needed to do extra, either playing in front of a sellout crowd and a Big 12 opponent, and you hadn't been on the field in a while. Sometimes emotions take over, and I told them, talking about it in terms and listen to the two voices that are sitting on your shoulder. You listen to the one that tells you to do right and one that tells you to do wrong. Well, sometimes that wrong guy is very, very convincing. And we have to listen to the one that sits on our shoulder and tells us the right stuff to do, because that's the one that we can build the trust with. So then yesterday we had a good long meeting, and it was a team meeting, and so the defense could see the offensive mistakes and the offense could see the defensive mistakes. And we pointed out misreads by Parker, and I know everybody thinks Parker's perfect, but he doesn't always play a perfect game, and I think everybody needed to see that everybody's making mistakes. You got to limit your mistakes to where that it's really just a physical mistake. We can't do nothing about that. A physical mistake, that's recruiting. There's a lot of things that go into that. That's human development. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But mental mistakes, lining up, assignment, alignment, technique, that's on you. That's on us if we're not coaching it well, and that's on you if you're not going out there and performing it when you're supposed to. And we've got to do a better job of that. And I think this started yesterday in the meeting. I was really pleased with how they accepted the meeting. I don't think it was a negative meeting. It's like I started it off with, and these two guys on here can tell you, when you tell the truth, sometimes it seems negative, and it's not meant to be negative. It's meant to be, a growth potential. And we're trying to grow them because we are young and we have to continue to grow. And that's not an excuse. And I hate saying that because I don't like making excuses, because nobody really cares. And I get that, they just want to see the results. And so we've got to continue to do that.
Well, you spent a couple of years on Mark's staff at Kentucky. Can you just describe your relationship with Coach Stoops and also what you learned during your time in Lexington?
I don't think we got time for what I learned, but Mark and I come from similar backgrounds, from similar age. We're both. He's older than me, so just a couple months, but similar everything, right? And in this profession, it's kind of funny. Usually, defensive back coaches and offensive line coaches get along really well. Don't know why it's always been that way with me. I think it's because we both know, stuff goes bad on defense. Whose fault is it? I mean, why am I, who did I meet with on Sunday when I walked into the office? Y'all saw the film. And if the stuff goes bad on offense, who they usually griping about? So you probably enjoy each other's misery a little bit, but we hit it off. I mean, Mark was very, very, very kind and very, very good to me, and I cannot stress that enough. I got to Kentucky at a time that I needed Kentucky more than Kentucky needed me, and then when I got there, it just so happens that everything was going on with John, and every now and then Kentucky needed me. Very rarely, very little time did they need me because John was a warrior. But we just developed a friendship and a connection and similar experiences. And I think it was somebody that he could talk to, that he needed to get things off his chest that wasn't in the fray, so to speak, that wasn't going to take it personally, that wasn't going to wonder, this, that, and the other. And as we evolved in our friendship, it just came on and on and on. And, I think the biggest thing was we would just stand back there in the defensive secondary and just talk during practice, and everybody thought we was talking about scheme all the time and this and that. And, sometimes we were just talking about life. And it really grew our friendship. He was very instrumental in helping me here at this job and some of the things that he said. And even my first year at COVID, I was talking to him and talking to, the Jim Madalino and those guys in the training, Gabe in the training room, just trying to figure out how to handle this COVID stuff. And, Kentucky's just been good to me. Now, when we roll in there on Saturday, I want to kick their tail just like they want to kick our tail. And, me and Mark are playing cards or something. We won't beat each other's ass, but, that's the business part of it. But, he's just a really good, I've said this before, and I think it's well documented, but he's one of the best guys I've ever worked for because he's a true people person. And, does Mark have a side that, you don't want to make mad? Sure. Sure. I mean, that's coaching, right? I mean, if you can't handle that, you don't need to be in this business. If your feelings get hurt, but it ain't like that all the time at all. And he respects your opinion. He respects your time. He respects your family time. He understands where he's at and what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. And he's going to let you know that's how it's going to be done. And, and most people want direction. And so, I mean, there's so much I could say about it. I've been in this state a long time, 1997 as a coach, and I've probably been out of it 6 years. And I can say this, and I know people, are going to say, "Oh, Bear Bryant won the SEC." It's a different SEC than when Coach Bryant was working in Kentucky. Mark Stoops has done the best job of anybody at the University of Kentucky in the football department, bar none. I mean, it's all opinion based. I get it. But he's done a phenomenal job and continues to. I mean, 10 wins in 2 different years. I mean, pretty phenomenal to me. That's hard to do, man. It's hard to do. I'm learning that. 10 wins, it's hard to get. We'd have to be perfect almost to get 10 wins.
It's kind of hard to follow that, Walt. I'm not just
I'm not trying to be a campaign manager. I just, I just really respect him. And, there's things he did when I was in my heart deal and that people don't know about. And that whole staff did. And I've been gone for 3 years. And, it's just shows you the type of people that he hires. You win with people. And that's what he's winning.
Well, one of those he hired.
Hopefully not Saturday, though. Hopefully not Saturday.
One of those he hired 2 years ago was Zach Yentzer, and you talk about the offensive line played better than what you had seen. From what did you see that maybe a person like me wouldn't notice? What made you say something like that?
I just see him hitting targets better, playing more physical, coming off the ball better, playing as one to better. Zach, I recruited Zach here to EKU, and Zach and my old line coach Eric Losey were roommates at East Tennessee State. So I've known Zach or about Zach for a long time. And, Zach's a good football coach and he'll continue to get them going in the right direction. I mean, it's tough sledding in the SEC when you're playing up front. Okay. It's not easy because everybody says it's a line of scrimmage league, and it is. And guess what else it is? It's a defensive line of scrimmage league. That's the difference. All right. That's the difference in the Big Ten and the SEC. Is not as much as the O-line, in my opinion, as it is the D-line. Go back and look at the draft records. It'll prove it to you. So it's tough sledding. And you got to be thick-skinned. You got to be tough. And you got to understand that you got to get movement and decide what's important to get in that movement. And, they'll be fine. I mean, they're young up front in some areas and different things. And that's what I see. But I see them growing. From last, because we watched last year's tape, obviously, and then watched this year's tape. And then we watched 2 years ago tape because Lim was there 2 years ago. And you can just, there's 2 or 3 NFL players on that line 3 years ago. So you just got to continue to work and grow and only worry about what the man above you says. And I'm not calling, I'm talking about the head coach and the coordinator. And make sure that they are happy with your production.
Walt, you spoke a second ago about maybe eliminating alignment, schematic kind of mistakes. And when you see what Kentucky's able to do on kickoff returns, the kick returner, Darrian Brown took another one back for a touchdown last week. Can you just kind of describe what goes into game planning against that and how you try and make sure your special teams kickoff coverage is as sound as possible when a guy has that kind of speed back there?
Well, we're going to kidnap Darrian when he comes off the bus for the catwalk, and we're going to tie him up until after all the kickoffs are over. But no, what we're really, obviously you got to have a plan for him. I mean, he's proven it against Ole Miss. He's proven it against Ball State. He's proven it against other people how fast he is. I'm a Nashville native and I'm a former teammate of his high school coaches. So I've heard about Darrian since he was about an eighth grade, and how well he can run. So, I mean, he's dynamic. I mean, and he's big. I mean, he's not like thick big, but he's tall, he's long, he's got range. And when he gets that stride going, it's going to be hard to stop him. So we're going to have a plan for that. Number one plan is to tell Patrick to kick it out of the end zone. And when I say out of the end zone, I mean out of the end zone, so he can't catch it. And then we'll let him have the ball, where they spot the ball, and we'll go from there. But we will have a plan for him, and our special team coaches, Derek Day and Chris Franklin, do a great job with that. I was really pleased with our special teams with the change in coordinator that we had, and those two young men stepping up on our staff. And I thought we played solid special teams on Saturday too against Cincinnati. I thought that was one of the improvements we had. So we'll have a plan, and hopefully we'll execute it.
Hey there, Darren. Appreciate the time. Obviously, kind of following up after what Walt said, but just how do you assess after watching some film what you guys put down in week one, and personally, what adjustments do you feel you have to make going into the Kentucky game?
I feel like our D-line was very physical, and that's what we want to do as a D-line. And we just need to iron out some communication and get the call and then play the call to the best of our ability.
So the university has been talking about trying to increase student involvement in athletic events, just trying to get more students to go to games and everything. Why do you think it might be important to have participation from your peers at the university?
What do you mean? Like peers coming to the games, or like us on campus?
They were just talking about what strategies they can do to try to get more people to come to games. So just generally, why would you even want other students coming to the games?
It feels great to have support at the games. Obviously, more fans make it more fun. Things like that.
Hey, Darrian, people like to say that when an EKU comes to town to play Kentucky, they've got nothing to lose. Do you guys see it that way, or do you feel like that's kind of a slap in the face, or how do you face something like that?
I don't feel like we have nothing to lose. I think we have everything to gain in this situation because they're not expecting us to win. Nobody expects us to win. So when we come in and we do what we do and we go out there, make plays, it's everything to gain for us and nothing to lose.
They've got a lot of running backs, and obviously they're going to try to establish the run. Are you concerned about their depth?
Not exactly concerned about their depth. I mean, we just got to do what we do on the defensive line, get knocked back, tear off, make plays.
So my next question would be, what kind of goals do you have for yourself this season? And then what are your goals for the whole team itself that you want for this season?
Wells talks a lot about how we want to get a conference championship and then make it deeper into the playoffs, going to the national championship. And that's my goal for the team. And for my individual goals, I'm not really thinking about myself in this situation. I want to have a great team. And if the individual goals come, they come. If they don't, they don't.
Parker, UK is going to have a very similar speed to what you guys faced last weekend. How do you adjust to that level of speed that you're seeing these first 2 weeks with two Power 5 opponents?
Yeah, for sure. There definitely is, a bit of a speed difference playing Cincinnati and Kentucky compared to some of the teams that we regularly play. I think the biggest thing is Coach Richmond, our offensive coordinator, talks to us all the time about speed and timing. Like if the players we're playing are going to be a little bit faster, we have to play faster, and our timing has to be there. I have to anticipate throws as opposed to receivers getting open and then me hitting them. So a lot of it has to do with the stuff that we do as well, just us trying to play fast.
Hey there, Parker. Appreciate the time. Obviously, since we last spoke in early August, you've had a few more weeks to work with Maxwell and now a live game situation as well to work with him as your QB's coach. Just could you describe what that relationship is like now and how you felt it went in week one in a difficult environment?
Yeah, I think it went well. I mean, our relationship is still really good with one another. obviously every time I would come over to the sideline, he was positive with stuff, which is always great as a quarterback. You want your coach, kind of to be more positive, and he was also, telling me what he saw and different stuff that maybe I could do out there, or certain reads. Hey, maybe you might have missed this read or might have had that. A lot of just helpful stuff over on the sideline that could help me for the next drive whenever I went out there.
So I am a student currently, so I'm dealing with the weight of having to do extracurriculars plus academics. And I'm sure, it's very difficult doing athletics and academics. So how are you preparing to have balance throughout the season?
Yeah, that's definitely a tough question, especially after this week, because I've spent about 7 hours of my time doing homework Sunday. So I definitely have to do better throughout the week, kind of evening out the workload throughout the week, so I don't just try and do everything Sunday before it's due. So that's definitely something this week I'm going to look to try and get ahead of throughout the week.
Yeah, Parker, I'm kind of glad I don't have 7 hours of homework to do. Would probably struggle with that, but I didn't. Have you had a chance then to do any film work on the Kentucky defense? If so, I just wondered what impressed you the most about the defense you're going to face Saturday.
Yeah, we to start 2 weeks ago, we did a few days on Kentucky, and we looked at their defense, and then after the first game, I've watched some of the film that they played. There's a lot that impressed me. They obviously have a really great defense, a lot of great players out there, super sound defense, like Coach Wells said. I think up front, they're really good. They have a few D linemen that could give us some trouble up front, especially we came off of Cincinnati, where up front I felt like we played pretty well against Cincinnati front that's really good as well, just like Kentucky's. They have great linebacker, great DBs. Honestly, overall, I think they're a great defense. They're a sound defense, and we're gonna have to play well offensively in order to put some points up on them and move the ball, hopefully.
Parker, it's obviously a bit of a new look receiving core for you guys this season as well. How do you feel the relationships and kind of the on-field chemistry went in week one with some new faces out there catching balls from you?
I think week one there was definitely some I wouldn't say miscommunication, maybe just some timing issues here and there. And that's just naturally going to come because like you guys talked earlier, Cincinnati, the game speed was, a little quicker than probably what we're used to. So we definitely had a little bit of timing issues. We had a bunch of receivers out there playing. We had 3 or 4 guys that were injured that didn't get to play. So, coming into this week, we really have to work practice and taking, every rep like it's a game rep. We can't take any reps off, and we need obviously a great look from our scout team. That way, whenever it comes game time, the timing and the speed and the anticipation and stuff like that, should just come naturally.
Parker, when you're preparing, and I guess this might have been a better question for Coach, but you've been doing this for a long time. When you're going up against a team like a UC or a Kentucky with that kind of speed, how do you prepare with a scout team? It's got to be a challenge to replicate and get your timing down.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely is. And, I think, actually Coach Wells took over the defensive scout team. So he's kind of been running it himself, making sure, hey, we're getting the right looks. People are running around, we're hustling. And he's actually brought a lot of the, what you would consider threes, who are usually probably still over there with the defense, getting some reps here and there. He brought those guys over to run scout team. So we have a bunch of, good scholarship guys over there who, are really trying hard and giving us good looks. And, it's going to be apparent even more this week to make sure, they're doing their job out there on scout team. They're not busting coverage. They're not, missing assignments out there themselves. That way we can get a look going into UK, who obviously has a really good defense.
How much do you relish a challenge like this, Parker? And I know you've already played and you've beaten D1 teams before, but this is a team right down the road. They get out of the pub. Some kids walk around your campus wearing blue. How important is this for you guys?
I think it is important. Obviously, they're right down the road from us. So obviously, we're in Lexington a lot. A lot of people here are UK fans as opposed to EKU fans. So being right down the road from them, obviously, you know, I'd say some of the fans probably, you know, go back and forth, whether UK, EKU that are on our campus. You know, so it's definitely big for us. But at the end of the day, you know, we're just trying to treat it like another game. I think the biggest thing for us is we really just kind of want to get that taste out of our mouth that was Saturday against Cincinnati. You know, obviously getting beat that bad is not, you know, the standard for us. It's not something that we want to ever have happen again. So I think for us, it's kind of just putting a new identity out there on film for us, obviously against a great opponent in Kentucky.
Parker, last question for you. Coach Wells mentioned the meeting that you guys had to start the week. Just what was your takeaway from that meeting? You said it was a lengthy and productive one. What was your takeaway?
Yeah, it was a tough meeting for a lot of people. I will say that because, you know, we're going through basically play by play of the game film, and, you know, he's, you know, asking people like, you know, what were you thinking here? What were you you know, people were having to give explanations for why they did what they did. And a lot of it wasn't what they were supposed to be doing or what, you know, the coaches had taught them to do. So, you know, it was good for the whole team to hear the explanations as to why they were doing that and stuff, and really just, you know, kind of keeping everyone accountable. You know, I think it was good for us as a team. And I think that's obviously, you know, something that we're going to use, hopefully positively, and then, you know, make the corrections that need to be made from that meeting. And then going into this week, hopefully not have the same mistakes.